Welcome to the December 25th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Fakafon.
And we are here to bring you some holiday cheer.
Wait, was there a holiday around this time?
Well, nothing compared to your 8 crazy nights.
That is true. Yeah, my holiday's already over. Was there another one, though?
Not nearly as important as yours or culturally relevant.
I know the New Year's coming up. But...
Might have not heard about it, so.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of obscure by today's standards.
You probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
No, for real, though, this is, the weirdest thing to bring up, but, my dad and I legitimately enjoy Santa's Slay, S-L-A-Y, with Bill
great.
Goldberg as Santa. The movie's
how
stupid,
can you not?
But it knows that it's stupid. It's having fun with itself, and it's amazing.
Oh,
sure. That's your Christmas movie, then?
I don't, if it's on, we'll watch it, but it's not always on, so, we try to make it our Christmas movie.
For me, it's Die Hard. I just love it.
Yeah, mine's Die Hard too.
Really?
Die Hard as well, yeah, I should say, because Die Hard 2 is actually a thing. But, I don't like Die Hard 2 very much. But Die Hard 1, yeah, I watch it after coming home from my cousins every Christmas Eve I can.
People talk badly about Die Hard 2, and, for the longest time, I had seen 1, 3, and 4, and I'd never seen 2. And Mr. Ryu and I watched 2, because Mr. Ryu hadn't seen any of them, so we were watching them in order, so we saw 1. And I was kind of like, all right, well... 2 is the step on the way to 3, but we really, really like 2. It had, a legitimately good plot twist none of us saw coming. It was fun. I don't know why people shit on it. It's no Die Hard 1, but none of the other movies are Die Hard 1.
I guess it's because 3 is a lot better than 2. So
3 arguably is. It gets a little heavy-handed with its Simon telling children's riddles, but it's fun.
Yeah, I like 3 a lot. I mean, 3's the second best. I mean, the first one's the best, but the fourth one's actually still really good.
I like the fourth one. It's
one's quite a bit.
PG-13. They don't say motherfucker and yippee-ki-yay, but it's a fun movie. Although
they do in the unrated version.
Yeah, that is true. I haven't seen the unrated version, but Die Hard 5 I have not seen, but I heard
shit.
It's just do not watch it. Do
oh boy.
Not.
So here's the argument that you can make comparison wise. So you know how some people didn't like Temple of Doom? Well, it's nothing compared to Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. It's the same thing. It's Die Hard 2 is not as good as 1 and 3, and and probably not even 4. But it's also not as bad as 5. Jesus.
No, that's true. I mean, with Temple of Doom, though, you go back and you're like, oh, that was more annoying than I remembered. But the good parts are really good. The Crystal Skull, I get the feeling if you go back later, you might think something similar. There's a lot of dumb shit in here, but the good parts are still good enough.
See, I didn't watch it when it came out. I've only caught it on TV, and there's
Skull?
just some. Yes,
okay.
And I've only caught it on TV in bits and pieces and in the last couple of years, and it's always dumb as shit every time I'm watching it.
A lot of it is. It really is. I saw it in theaters.
It's from one dumb as shit set piece to the next dumb as shit set piece.
There are a lot of cool set pieces, but they get CG weird, and they have shit swinging on vines with monkeys, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
That's the part where the movie completely loses me. And what are you guys doing hanging out in a Mayan temple? Where have you been?
Forget what are you doing hanging out in a Mayan temple. What are the people on the walls doing?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, were they there for 100 years just not eating? And, intruders, guys, this is our time, and they just jump out.
Finally.
Yeah. After 10,000 years, I'm free.
Yeah. I was about to make that reference to
Rita Repulsa. But we should get to some juicy tidbits here. However, I know you're listening to this on your work time commute today, so
on Christmas.
I know you'd rather be listening to us than spending time with your families. If that's a thing.
Jeez.
But
the present under the tree is someone's phone, which is set to play on this video. Just press play and you get to hear it.
And now Lotus will sing you your favorite Christmas songs from memory, which he doesn't know any of them at all, so he'll just make up words.
Well, that literally would be the thing. like I know that Christmas songs are ubiquitous when you go out shopping and whatever, but like I swear to God, like I don't know the words to almost any of them.
Of
Silent
course you
Night,
wouldn't.
Holy Night, I'm done. Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, Deadly Night, 2
Garbage Day.
But like, I mean, like, there's Jingle Bells, Jingle All the Way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. And
That's
then,
not even a Christmas song. That's a winter song, Lotus.
yeah, I know, but like, but then there's Dashing Through the Snow on a one-horse open sleigh. I kind of forget the next part. Laughing
Or
all the way,
The
like,
Fields We Go, Laughing All the Way.
there we go. Ha, ha,
ha.
Like I know the first verse maybe of like any given Christmas carol. Like I don't know them, and I'm happy not to know them because they play them endlessly when you go shopping in every store. There's no escape, and I used to work retail, so that was fun.
Oh,
Well, Lotus, you should know at least Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That one
I
was written by
really don't.
that one was written by a Jew. So
Oh hey, he has a very shiny nose. I'm done. Like that. Like
it's actually funny because a lot of Christmas, like modern Christmas songs, like from 1900 on, were written by Jewish people, because they were in the industry at the time. So like it's really funny when you tell people that, because they're like they're thinking somebody who was in the spirit of it like made it, and it's like, no, they were just trying to make a buck. I mean,
well, yeah, it's like
on.
how the Pledge of Allegiance was written by like a socialist, and it's like, wait, what? But as far as the Christmas songs, the true Christmas songs are any given band's obligatory Christmas album that they have to do because they agreed to X number of albums and they've only published X minus one. So they're like, ah, shit, let's do a Christmas song.
Yeah,
like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and shit like that. It's like, do our
well,
fun.
some of them really like them. I mean, like Smashing Pumpkins has threatened to make an entire Christmas album, like as of recently.
That's actually
so
fantastic.
Like, well,
How do you threaten someone to make music?
Well, it's a threat because they haven't made an album in ages, and like all of a sudden they make a comeback and it's just a Christmas album, like like that's just something Billy Corgan would do. Like, fuck you guys, no. I like Christmas.
Is
Fuck
the
off.
snow white where you are?
Well, they have a Christmas.
Festive?
Well, no, they have a Christmas song. They have one Christmas song that's actually pretty popular.
Oh, yeah?
But he wants to make a whole fucking album.
Well, that's actually that's actually fantastic.
People would buy it anyway.
No, they would. They're Smashing Pumpkins. Of course they would. And they would buy it every year. Like it coming out with a Christmas album is a really good long term like.
No, that is true. That like
investment.
it becomes relevant again each year instead of like regular music where they're like, yeah, but I've heard it. Where's a new album? But like Christmas, you can hear it every time at Christmas.
I mean, you can it's only appropriate to listen to it for like 3 months out of the year, but I mean, you still get that fever like of people coming back to it, like, oh yeah, I should buy that.
When are the Gorillaz gonna make a Christmas album?
They're not gonna make anything ever again in another 20
I hope
years.
that every Gorillaz Christmas album sounds absolutely nothing like their last Christmas album.
It's
and have a different guest, like just heading the whole thing.
It just sounds like The Fall. The joke's on you. But anyway, let's get
London
this
and
going,
a snowy day in Boston. Hey, bringing it back.
All right. Let's get going here. But the big controversy of this week is that we haven't talked about yet. Maybe it was starting to come up last week, so we didn't get like the full story yet. But Epic, the makers of Fortnite and lots of other games, they're the maker of the Unreal games and all, and Jazz Jackrabbit.
Oh, nice. Jazz Jackrabbit was Cliffy B, wasn't it?
Sure was, but he was made famous by making Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they are being sued over multiple signature real world dances.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but
no, I have.
So they have
A
emotes in this game, just like a lot of other games have emotes. Like Dark Souls was like the first game that I really saw emotes in, but then they kind of have. I guess there are ones for limited uses, in certain games that don't have like voice chat, right? So They're a way to get people's attention and also to brag and things like that, and also to get a little extra money out of people because they buy these emotes. Destiny was like the big game that had this kind of these kind of interactions.
Well, even the original Team Fortress 1, where you would have not gestures, but you would have generic key phrases like "Excuse me, I need medical attention," like, and that wasn't your voice, stuff like that.
Sure. Well, Destiny was really the game that really had this kind of stuff in it, but they usually only had like mild references to things. It wasn't like straight up. But like Fortnite is being sued by, I think, Tyler the Creator, Alfonso Ribeiro, otherwise known as the actor who played Carlton in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, because they're doing the Carlton dance. Yeah.
Exactly. The Tom Jones, It's Not Unusual dance,
Yeah.
and also the Backpack Kid for doing the Backpack Kid dance, which is that one where they do the arm in front and then the arm in the back and switch.
Well, this is kind of interesting because Overwatch has had a whole ton of dance moves you can do with its characters, and a bunch of them are referential, but like I don't think they were like dances invented by these people. I think like the closest they've come, which now that Epic is getting sued, might be tenuous territory, but like one of the dances was something like they saw like a cosplayer of a particular character do at some convention. They're like, oh, we'll use that, and that person probably was just like, oh shit, that's amazing, I'm getting immortalized. But like these other people with Epic, like, have more clout and clearly invented the dances they're doing. So it's
Fortnite's also the most popular game right now. It's more popular than Call of Duty or anything, really.
It's way up there. Yeah. It's free to play. It helps.
It's the most popular game being played right now all over the world. I think it's beating Counter-Strike, which was previously
I think I've mentioned this in a podcast a while back, but like I've seen middle school students playing this like on their phones. Like, why not? Yeah.
That's why it's so popular. It's ubiquitous. You could play it on anything. You could play it on the tablet. You could play it on your phone. You could play it on a computer. You could play it on any system now.
Yeah.
So why not? The game is built for anybody to be able to play it, and they're making like gangbusters over it. In fact, so much that Steam is actually threatened by somebody because of it. So they're actually heavily promoting PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is their main competitor, quite heavily to try to combat that. Fortnite really, for anybody who doesn't know, this really isn't in our sphere, but it's a battle royale game where a bunch of people get plunked down and then the last person standing lives is the one who wins.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like it was like a competitor to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. That game got really popular, but then like all of a sudden Fortnite showed up. So like PUBG was like. It was almost like a flash in the pan. It should have been the number one thing, but Fortnite just like walked all over it.
It was the number one thing at first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was made by one guy at one point. So like PlayerUnknown, and he was coming out with it for a while. So the concept has been in the ether, and people like it was just a matter of time before a big company would either copy it or try it.
Yeah.
And they're just happening to beat them at their own game by higher production values and just being on everything, the nature of being on everything. I think PUBG is on quite a lot of platforms, even phones still right now. But it has, like Fortnite has a more cartoony aesthetic, so therefore it's very appealing to a lot of age groups.
Yeah.
Plus it has all these cultural references in it. So like everybody likes stuff like that. So, what's really funny is I saw like the actual wireframe of the characters doing these dances, and they're very clearly based off of actual footage. So they have a very good case here because like they have Alfonso Ribeiro doing that dance, and it's very clearly taken off of his Dancing with the Stars dance.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not even the dance.
No, they traced
him
over
himself.
No, they traced over him very clearly.
Wow. That Dancing with the Stars moment, by the way, like I don't normally watch that show, but like I was all over that because you knew he was
That's
going to bring
awesome.
it back, and when was it going
Yeah.
to be? And like it finally happened. It was fantastic.
And he won it because of it.
Oh, he killed.
Yeah, and he's a good dancer to begin with. He's
no,
a very
there
talented
was a
person.
Fresh Prince episode where like they went to like the big dance, and like Carlton did dance moves that were like not the Carlton dance, and he was fucking killing it. It was one of those moments where Will Smith, I don't mean the actor, I mean like the character Will Smith in the show, was like, whoa, really? Like this whole time? Like, it was kind of nice.
So, you know, you may say, hey, you know, maybe it's these people just kind of money grubbing off of this thing, but they like Epic charges money for these emotes, and like a lot of other games, like will get, you know, cooperation from like Snoop Dogg and stuff, and include Snoop Dogg stuff in it. Like Call of Duty does that all the time, and they pay him for it, and they can afford it. It's not like, you know, some dinky little game. Like this is made by one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the biggest video game companies.
And not only that, as much of an overreaction as it may appear to be to sue these people, but like to not do I don't know about sue, but to not do something about it implies that this is okay. And like,
they didn't even ask him.
That's
like,
the thing.
they didn't even
trust
ask him.
me. Like if somebody figures out that this is okay, then they are gonna take that idea and run with it. So like, I mean, it's like what you were saying earlier, Vice. With getting permission and everything. Like I remember when like you can get it now, but the Streets of Rage remake project, you can go ahead and get it now. But there was a time where it was taken offline because these people were working on the Streets of Rage remake project for a long time using assets from Sega, and Sega turned a blind eye to them. But when they started
Sega's actually really good about fan projects.
No, they are.
Like, really good about
it. But then the people making the game started asking for donations to help further their production, and Sega's like, we cannot allow this anymore. Like we were like, they probably regretted having to step in, but they were like, they had to step in.
Yeah.
Sega's even been known to step in and then make something official. So like,
Chris Whitehead Sonic CD.
Well, yeah,
They hired him.
and he made the best Sonic game in many years.
And similarly, I think Capcom did something with Resident Evil 2's remake, because I mean, people were hoping for a remake for like 5 or 6 years. It's been forever. And
it's been a long time.
This Italian group of people was working on they couldn't make a real Resident Evil 2 remake. That's too much. But they took the assets from Darkside Chronicles on the Wii, and they used that to make like a Resident Evil 4 style Resident Evil 2. But then the project got shut down. But I think Capcom hired them as well, and now the remake 2 is coming out in January.
I think that particular game was made on the Unreal Engine as well, right?
Oh, that I don't know, but that'd be interesting.
That's more than likely, because that's very easy to use. It's very user friendly. And actually, the Ghostbusters video game actually got started up because of somebody doing a similar project. The idea from it really came from that. They didn't hire them, but the idea was jettisoned by like somebody coming up with a proof of concept video.
Oh, okay. Wait, jettisoned?
Yeah, so, you know, it was started.
Oh, okay. Jettison's like the opposite.
Yeah, nah. I'm using big words and meaning something else. So anyway, call me out on
jettisoning
it, please.
Leads to jetsam. The companion of flotsam in The Little Mermaid. If anyone wants to know the definitions of flotsam and jetsam, why, they're simply the eels in Little Mermaid.
Yeah, obviously.
That's all it is.
It's just junk and detritus. But
yeah,
anyway.
I think the difference is subtle. Like, I think jettison stuff is stuff that was thrown overboard, and flotsam is just basically debris, but on the water. Like, it wasn't thrown there, it's just the boat sank, and that's what happened.
It's junk.
They're both basically the same shit. It doesn't matter. It's like lava and magma. One's underground, one's above ground. Whatever.
It's like a whirling dervish. You never have a dervish that isn't whirling.
Yeah,
you never have flotsam that isn't with
dervish
jetsam.
before he gets started. Hold on, guys. Get ready.
Exactly. So meanwhile, with the folks that aren't English nerds like us. So anyway,
Hi.
Any weird French phrases that you'd like to speak about, Fakafon?
Nobody would understand them anyway, so.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, I know. We just did that to like a bunch of people listening, probably. Flotsam and
Could
jetsam.
you explain ennui to me? Explain ennui.
Ennui?
Oh my god.
That's when you're like playing your previous gen video game system, right?
Ennui.
No! How dare you!
Isn't ennui like general like disillusionment? You're
Malaise,
just like
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it's like like jadedness about
Melancholy.
everything.
It's
Melancholy.
boredom, is what it is. Ennui
Yeah.
is boredom.
Yeah. But like it's very negatively a negative connotation to it. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
have
just like,
ennui,
oh,
like
whatever.
almost like a depression.
Yeah, like
Well, it's
apathy with
or
boredom.
depression.
Yeah, but the way it's only in English is it like a stronger word. In French, it's not that strong a word.
Oh, really?
Okay, so like
Yeah.
you could just be like mildly bored and you can have ennui. Is that?
Yeah,
Is that?
basically
Oh,
like
just like
je m'ennuie,
you could
it's like
say I
I'm
have
bored.
ennui instead of I'm bored. Huh. Because like, yeah, I'm just used to it as being like just jaded, just like, man, there's nothing fun anymore, you know, like that kind of thing.
Like Romeo at the beginning of Romeo and Juliet has ennui.
That
Like
no, that wasn't ennui. That was him. He was actually melancholy. Like he wasn't like jaded. He was miserable because a girl didn't like him.
Every man's problem.
And then he literally forgets about her as the moment he sees a new girl. It was like unbelievable.
this one's younger and therefore I'm creepier.
Yeah, this one's almost 15. Great. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, no,
anyway.
ennui is actually well, it's like I'm not gonna say it on air, but like the C word, like in certain countries, like it's not that bad. But if you
It's
say in the
stronger in
U.S.,
America than it is in England.
yeah, like if you say in the U.S., it's like oh shit, you know.
Yeah, but in England or like Australia, it's just like fuck. It's like, hey, just throw it around.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty much.
You could say spaz all you want in America, it doesn't mean anything. But if you say it over in Europe, it's like, oh god,
Yeah.
you just said like the R word.
Well, that's actually
Oh,
why you see
gotcha.
spaz less in America, because lots of things are international now. So it's like, we
Yeah.
better not put that in there.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm actually on the side of the actors here. You
Yeah.
know, I
They
wish I
took
could
their
be on the
shit.
side of the video games, but I think they really stepped outside their bounds. This was more than just references. This is like they're capitalizing off of their fame and things that they did. So and doing it exactly so. They're actually like, you know,
Well, it's the
copying
video
their
equivalent of
likeness.
plagiarism. Like, you can't just do that.
Exactly. So they're going to court and they're fighting for the copyright of these dances as choreography. The precedent is you can copyright choreography but not a dance.
Oh, by the way, speaking of going to court over this stuff, do you have anything further to say about these dances or anything about that, Vice or Fakafon?
No.
No, not really.
Because like there's a topic I completely forgot about, but oh man, have you heard about the recent thing with Soulja Boy?
Yes.
Oh my God,
I
yes.
can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah. So Soulja Boy released I think multiple video game consoles, but the thing is they are like flagrant copyright violations. Like they have a bunch of
I can
pre-installed
explain
games on
this.
them. I think
I
including
know a lot about
weird
it.
shit like Smash. Like, dude, like. Dude, what are you doing?
I know a lot about this.
Like,
so-
Nintendo shut down an old couple for hosting ROMs. What the fuck do you think is going to happen to you?
So I actually know a lot about this
Yeah.
particular the particulars of this. So Soulja Boy came out and said, "Oh, I'm getting into the video game business." He's long been a video game fan. Like he even had like back in the day, he even was famous for posting a video of Braid. I don't know if you
Oh.
remember this, but he actually some people are actually think that part of the success of Braid is due to the video of Soulja Boy loving like showing off Braid and how much he loved
I
it.
didn't know he was into that. The only thing I knew, and this is tenuous, is have you guys ever heard of his like meme-worthy, cringe-worthy like anime song?
Oh boy,
It's
yeah.
the funniest
No,
shit.
I haven't.
Like anime, I'm flying like Goku. It's like, oh my. But like the end of that song is just like, it's like in Neil Breen in Pass Through, where he just says shit like, I can manipulate the planes, dark energy, dark matter, quantum physics, the string theory. It's like, what the fuck are you saying? So like, Soulja Boy's got like his lyrics about anime and all that cool stuff, but then he ends it with a video game reference out of nowhere, and he just goes like, Marvel versus Capcom, Soulja Boy versus the world, and it's like, what? But like, okay, so he acknowledges video games, I guess, in the anime song. All right.
Yeah, so it came out that on his website that he is selling this video game console
Mm-hmm.
that promises to have like 800 games on it.
Yeah, isn't it one? Of, isn't it like actually one of those Chinese like bunch of games in one consoles?
That's what I'm getting to.
It's not even his console.
So this is an existing thing. Like it's
Yeah.
an emulator box that you could buy on its own, and it's normally something like $40 or $50 if you get it from like AliExpress or whatever.
Yeah.
But he basically is just throwing his name on it, like with a like a logo and stencil.
Yeah.
And selling it directly for $80. So people think that, first of all, you must be really hard up for money if this is what you're selling.
And some of this stuff was a couple hundred too, because he had like some different systems. Like the
Yeah.
home console one was like, it was something insane. It was like 400 marked down to 200 like on day one, and it was like, what?
Yeah. So he is selling the Soulja Boy game handheld, the Retro Soulja Boy Mini, and the Soulja Boy Game Fuse. These are all existing products that you could buy without the branding, but I'm guessing he's hoping you do it anyway.
This is one of those things where like you're a fool to buy this, but in like 30 years,
It's
you're gonna
funny.
be like, dude, get like
I
I got
built
one of
that Soulja Boy.
those things. You probably haven't
Yeah.
even heard of them, but I got one. Like,
But yeah, he and it has tons of unlicensed ROMs on it, like just straight up. So like it comes with Pokemon games. It comes with
yeah, it's like
PlayStation
like
1
Nintendo.
games.
Are you shitting me? Like Nintendo games.
I mean,
like,
Crash Bandicoot's on it. Like
No, I
like,
know, but like Nintendo is like notoriously draconian about using their shit. Like, of course, any company would be. Like, Sony would be right to sue, but like, you're gonna take Nintendo games. Like, dude, I don't know if you know what you're getting into.
So yeah, like all these people are like messaging him on Twitter, and they're like, "Dude, what are you doing? What the fuck?"
Yep.
Like first of all, like they don't even let like just like normal people sell shit like this. Like
Yeah.
you are a celebrity with money, like you are gonna get crushed
Yup.
by them. And he's probably already hurting for money, because he's not really in the limelight except for stuff like this.
Mm.
And his hits from 10 years ago at this point. So like he's well known in the community still, but he's it's not like he disappeared, but he's not making hits like on any mainstream,
Yeah.
like he might be, maybe his fans still like his stuff, of course, but like it's not like when we were in high school or early college when he was like
everywhere.
a big name
Yeah.
and everybody knew who he was. So he's just famous for you, but
Yes.
but he's selling this, and he's gonna get murdered by all these companies, and I saw somebody like playing with the generic one, and he's just like, this is what you could look forward to. Like
Yeah.
there's some junk emulation in it, obviously it's not the best emulation either. So like there's some really bad like Game Boy Advance emulation, so you could play like it doesn't even like have battery saves, so you have to do save states. So
Oh, man.
like so the game doesn't save when you want it to in game. You have to specifically save state it
Yeah.
in order to save. So like it's just piss poor emulation. Like there's screen tearing on 2D games, stuff like that. Really annoying shit. Apparently the PlayStation emulation, the PlayStation 1 emulation, is actually pretty decent. It's actually
So it's
better than the
Sony's emulation.
yeah, it's
Are
actually
you
better than the
serious?
PlayStation Classic. Is the
Well, I mean, as we
going.
established in a previous podcast, like the SNES Classic is a better emulator for PlayStation games than
Yeah.
Sony's product. So it's like,
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
But first of all, like I could see you wanting to buy this as a joke, like to get it for your friend. Like it's an expensive fucking joke, but it's a joke. You shouldn't be buying this for real. Please don't. Maybe get one for posterity because this guy will get shut down.
you could put it right next to your like one of those like literal scam Kickstarter. Like,
Yeah.
what was the one that was getting famous
The
for? Was it-
Gizmondo.
No, that wasn't even a scam. That was
It was actually.
well, they
It
weren't
was,
trying to fool the customers. It was just shady as shit.
Well, it was put up as part of a money laundering scheme by the Swedish mafia.
Yeah, no, I was aware of that, but I mean, like, it did what it was supposed to do. But I'm talking about like actual like, what was the thing that was under fire like a few months ago? Was it like some Oh my god, what was this? It was like some system that was supposed to be able to play like any game from any system or something.
Oh, okay. The CD based system, the disc based
Yeah, it
system
was
that.
something where it's like you're not doing this shit.
No, no, they're just complete liars.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like, but what I'm saying is, it'd be funny if, like you were saying, Vice, like you might buy Soldier Boy's product for like the same reason you would buy that. It's like, dude, I have one. It doesn't fucking work. It didn't do what it was supposed to. But look at this. I could show it off on a YouTube
You could have it as a
video.
relic. You could have it as a relic, like
Exactly.
a console branded by a bit shady as hell one with
Yeah, like I
copyright
think
material he didn't own.
like I think Guru Larry got some like handheld that was supposed to like connect to your TV and project some like European game system. It was like maybe it was ZX Spectrum or something, but apparently it sucked at doing even that. But it's just like, but look, I have one. I'll YouTube video it. It's like, sure, all right, it's interesting.
But yeah, don't buy this like thinking this is any good.
If you're buying
you
it
want an
because you want to play the
emulation
games,
system,
then like, dude, come on.
if you want an emulation system, get a Raspberry Pi. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Or use your PC.
I mean,
like
that
everybody
literally
else.
is what the PlayStation Classic is. Oh, by the way, speaking of the PlayStation Classic, I think some places have it for sale for like $60 now, or maybe it was 50 or 60.
Oh yeah, it's a complete failure. It's a
yeah,
complete
it's like
failure.
whoop, like glad I didn't pre-order that. I
But
was honestly considering it too, but yeah.
the Soldier Boy thing isn't over. So everybody's like tweeting him like, dude, you are gonna get sued to hell. Stop. Like,
Yeah.
just like don't even ship it or whatever. And he came out with this tweet that was just like, hey, you F words, you better stop telling me to do this. I don't care. I'm gonna do what I want, and
You are dead.
yeah, and he said it. He said the F word, the bad F word.
Oh yeah, I was about to say like why did you
A
censor it?
homophobic tweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say like since when did we censor the F word? Oh, that F word.
No,
Yeah,
the
that
one that
F
I
word.
don't want to say.
Yeah.
The other one.
Yeah, and so he he had to delete those tweets, obviously.
No shit, but I mean, but the thing
but
is,
it's
though,
out
like,
there. It's
well,
out there.
that's the thing. Like, you almost may as well not delete the tweets. I mean, like, you should just to show that you have like regret about your typing it. But like, if you're doing it to hide it, then don't even bother.
Yeah.
See, I'm done with him. Like he doesn't want to listen. He's doing something shady, and he knows he's doing something shady, and now he's being homophobic. I'm not on
But just,
any side.
What kills
at
me
all
though, it's
near
like
him.
it's not like he's putting up like he's fucking with like the biggest players on the field. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
No, he's an idiot.
And he's being public about it too. It's not like, dude, did you hear? Like, there's this one website where I can get some ROMs and like let's do this while we can. Like Soldier Boy is like publishing like an official store. Like he's not trying like the point is not to hide this stuff. And like he has Nintendo games. Like that is how could you possibly think this would be a good idea?
He's gonna get wrecked, and everybody's gonna laugh at him.
But this doesn't even seem like one of those things where it's like, ooh, there was bigger backlash than I thought. Like, how could you possibly think this would work? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. So, word on the street is I don't think anybody actually has this in their hands yet.
No, I'm pretty sure they do.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I know that there's this YouTuber Rerez Rerez.
Sure,
he
I know
already
him.
he made a video of like, oh dude, I got the console, get ready, I'm making this video, and he made a video review of it. I saw spreading around the internet's like JonTron, he has I think one of the consoles, but not the other because it didn't ship or something, and like he was gonna do a review. Like, some people have these.
Okay, so I thought people only had like the generic versions. So I was
I'm
actually
not sure
gonna
about
say
that, actually, I'm not sure. Maybe.
So I was actually thinking to myself, like, what if he's just like pulling a ruse on everybody and he's just trying to get in the news, to stir up some controversy,
That's
and
a
then not
dangerous game.
actually ship it, then not actually ship it and then like give everybody their money back. He might even do that kind of thing, if he was like really smart.
It's quite a lot of effort for a prank.
Just to get his name
Yeah.
back in the but it's a really good to get his name back in the zeitgeist. I mean, we're talking about him.
That is true. I mean, I know that they say that any kind of news is like, or like, how did it go? Like
Publicity.
publicity. I was thinking no news is good news, and that's the opposite. But yeah, any kind of publicity is good publicity. But it's like when
Yeah.
everyone calls you a fucking idiot. Like I don't know how good that publicity is.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We'll give you updates on the pending litigation of
Yeah.
him. But we should move on to some other interesting stuff that happened this week, especially in the retro gaming sphere. So the SD2 SNES does not get very many updates. This is the highest end ROM cartridge that, speaking of illegal copyrighted materials, this is the probably the premier. No, it is the premier flash cart that you could buy for Super Nintendo to play ROMs on actual hardware.
Yeah, and regarding why it doesn't get many updates, it's like it generally doesn't seem to need them. Like each update it gets, it's like this is the new.
It's major.
Yeah, like now
Yeah.
it can play Star Fox. Like oh shit,
It-
now it can
it
play
ge-
Mario RPG. Oh shit.
It generally gets like 1 or 2 updates a year, so
Yeah.
that's not a whole lot. So the last update was a huge one. It was an official update to add FX chip support, which is the chips that Star Fox ran on, Doom, Star Fox 2, and Yoshi's Island. Those are like the big titles. So the
Oh,
only
Yoshi's Island was FX.
yes, it was an
Oh,
FX2 chip.
Oh, I wasn't sure if that was the what you were about to talk about.
So the SA1 was just added to the official firmware. So it had long been in beta. I have talked about it before, but this was the last major special chipset that was made for the Super Nintendo cartridges. This left off three major games. Without this support that had just been added, you wouldn't have been able to play Super Mario RPG, which is the biggest one.
Yeah.
Kirby Superstar, which is another big game, and Kirby's Dream Land 3. Those are the three biggest games that the SA1 chip powers.
Yeah. Now the thing with the FX is that was like that allowed like the polygons and that 3D movement. Now the SA1, what did that chip do that these games could offer? Was this like when you were in Mario RPG? Was this when you like selected a level on the map screen and it zooms in?
No, the Super Nintendo naturally has sprite rotation and zoom
Okay.
in and out, so that's not an issue. It probably has more to do with compression. These are very big games with a lot of
okay.
color, and also a lot of animation. And a lot of content. So I'm guessing that all has to do with it.
Okay.
Like the Kirby games in particular are very, very good looking Super Nintendo games, and probably are very compressed in order to deal with that. Super Mario RPG, all of it is pre-rendered graphics, 3D
Yeah.
graphics. So it has a lot of music in it too, and a lot of it's just a dense game. So that's what I'm thinking. These are the games that are probably, other than the FX chips, are probably have the best games, the best graphics for the system. So the only thing that's left are a couple obscure chipsets that need to be worked on, and they're only Japanese games. Every US game is compatible with this ROM cart now.
And Europe, I think. Every US and Europe.
And
like
Europe
every
game,
single game that ever came out in English, like you can play now.
Yeah, so I also think that this was the Star Ocean one as well, the original Star Ocean,
Okay.
and also the one for Street Fighter Alpha.
Which I don't think I ever realized the Star Ocean was on Super Nintendo. I just remember
The
Star Ocean
original
2
was.
being on like PS1.
Yeah, so the original was released on the Super Famicom, and there are fan translations of it, of course.
Okay. It never really occurred to me that I've just never seen the original Star Ocean.
Yeah, so it was also remade for PSP, and that came out in English as well.
Okay.
But this is really exciting news because if it's in the official update, it means that it's out of beta, and it also means that it's as perfect as it's going to get, which means it's it's indistinguishable from the real thing. Which is fantastic. This is really good time to be into Super Nintendo playing because you can have an SD to SNES and a Super NT and have everything you could
you're
ever want.
golden. Yeah.
Yeah,
Except for
everything.
like 5 to 7 like Japanese esoteric games.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
only one game left that I would ever want to play, and that was recently fan translated. It's Tengai Makio or Far East of Eden Zero. It's a Hudson RPG,
Ooh.
and that was recently made. And there's a couple horse derby games. Like who gives a shit about
Yeah,
those?
like those
yeah.
gambling on the races and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually are so complex that probably the SD2 NES can't do those two games
Oh.
because they have like real time clocks and like horse
Oh.
racing
But the thing with those
simulation
games,
elements.
but the thing with those games though is that like, so you buy a couple of games, like when it comes down to it, you don't need the SD2 SNES for everything. Just buy the fucking horse game if you want it that bad. Save
Well,
yourself a lot of trouble.
The main point for this, and it's a good point, is if there is a fan translation that comes out for those games, you still would be SOL.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's the issue, but also why are you playing those games? Come on. Like there are newer horse simulation games that you could play that are probably more advanced and more horsey, so go at it. Like this is the equivalent of playing like a really old Madden game for the hell of it, or whatever, but even less so, if you ask me. So I would say that this is a great time. Really, really cool stuff that this came out. And I actually think that Tengai Makio Zero chipset will also be added. But that's besides the point. That's my only want. But this is such good news that it's. I mean, like I could barely ask for anything more.
Yeah, it's either nearly done or it is done.
Yeah, so this is really cool stuff, and it's just a really awesome time to play Super Nintendo games in a very accurate form.
My God, you guys are nerds.
Wait,
You're
what?
just figuring this out. Wait,
I
no,
have
we're
to say
dweebs.
something. People were gonna forget I was even here, dude.
we're dweebs, not nerds.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Actually,
Oh God.
But another thing in this realm is the Dreamcast HDMI got recently released.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Did I talk about this on air before? I don't think I have.
I don't think so, but like we've seen stuff like this before. The Nintendo 64 had an HDMI mod that it's installed like into the system. It's not an external thing you click in like the GameCube one. But the beauty of the N64 one is that it has a bunch of visual features. Like you can add and remove scan lines. You could set 720 or 1080p, which is the biggest deal. You could upscale it within the context of its own system. And the Dreamcast one allows that. But like, well, no, go ahead. Say the best part about the Dreamcast one.
Yeah.
So this one, the Dreamcast had really funky video output.
Yeah.
It either output in SCART, S-Video, or VGA. Now, here's the problem. The VGA was obviously the best, but in doing so, only some of the games supported it, and some of the games had to be like jury-rigged in order to use the VGA output, and some of them don't work at all.
Yeah, well, that's what was annoying, because
Yeah.
the thing is, we've had this talk a bunch of times about, like, when I brought up the pound cable, the HDMI cable for the PS1 and PS2.
Yeah.
The thing with the PS2, though, is a lot of its games, and the GameCube does the same thing, a lot of its games only go up to 480i, but some go to 480p. So here's the thing, if you have component cables, which can do up to 480p, but your game only goes up to 480i, then you play it in 480i. But like with the Dreamcast, though, if it doesn't support the VGA cables, you actually have to take out the cable and put in a composite or SCART or something. You have to like keep swapping cables if you want the best video every time. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And each game is different. You have to look up a table. It's really
Yeah.
it's really bonkers. So it's a big pain in the ass, and like there are solutions for this, like the Toro box for from Behar Brothers, which is really great. The way that they did this was they had the VGA and SCART output all go out through the same cable, like a SCART cable, so you could put it to an upscaler like an OSSC or FrameMeister, and you could just hit a switch depending on which, if you wanted to use SCART or VGA.
Yeah, the funny thing is you still have to toggle something, but it is way less of a nuisance.
It's still a pain in the ass. Like, why should I even have to do this?
Yeah.
Why should I even have to go up to my
You
system?
literally do have to do this because there's no better way. Like, until now.
So DC HDMI gets the digital video direct off of the board. It does not have to convert anything. It is like direct digital video from the board. It doesn't have to play with any of that crap, and also upscales up to 1080p.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
the beautiful part. Like, not only do you not need an upscaler device to hook it to, so you don't need another piece of hardware to run it through, but yeah, you actually can use the single HDMI. Like, it's very easy to take that for granted when you're like, I want to replace my PS1 cable with HDMI, my GameCube cable with HDMI if I can, but like, it's really easy to forget that with the Dreamcast, you constantly had to swap out cables even if you did have better ones. So this HDMI upgrade is a big deal because before, it's not like you couldn't have wired an HDMI cable to the Dreamcast, but it wouldn't necessarily have given you what you wanted. It would have been a nice output, but adjusting the visuals would still have been a pain in the ass. But this time, it actually does the job for you. It's the thing that you expect of every system, but forget that the Dreamcast doesn't just give that to you. So this is actually a really big deal.
So it's kind of like having an all-in-one. So.
Exactly.
Pretty much, yeah. It's VGA, it's composite, or it's SCART. Like, it's both. Like that kind of thing. Like, it actually does the job of all of them, and well, that's it. It does the job of all of them. It's just the one cable. Again, with any other system, you're like, oh, a higher quality cable, but this is like there's more involved with this particular undertaking.
Yeah,
so
for everyone. Sorry. Yeah, for everyone who, like, all of our older listeners know that, like, old systems had like a shit ton of cables, and like just having something that you plug in and it will work with like most of the games and just keep a good quality, that's such a good thing, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, even with the PS3, it comes with composite cables. You can buy component cables, or you could use HDMI, and HDMI
I didn't
is the
even know
best.
that. I didn't know that for PS3.
Oh yeah, you can use component cables. That's how I recorded my Let's Plays forever, because HDMI, it has that HDCP protection. I have a workaround for that now. But the thing is, like, you're like, oh, an HDMI is a better cable. I'll just use that. But again, for Dreamcast, you couldn't just get away with that. Like, a lot of effort went into this project to make the HDMI cable work for every game and not just the composite ones.
Gotcha.
So the guy who made this, Dan Coots, Citrus 3000 PSI, I think is what his name is, or 2000 PSI on Twitter. He did a comparison. There was a recent the Dreamcast pound cable, which turns the signal, the analog signal, into HDMI. It is, first of all, it is incompatible with all of the SCART only games.
Yeah, see, there you go. So you could have done HDMI for a while, but it's not. It didn't do what you would expect necessarily.
Yeah. And he also did a comparison screenshot between his DC HDMI solution and the pound one, and it blows the pound one out of the water.
Oh, really?
It's
you can just
so
tell by,
much
like,
better. Yeah, it's not even close.
Nice.
So yeah,
it's like what you showed me with RGB for the Sega Genesis. I thought it was really funny because like I thought you were just being like a visual file, like but you gotta have RGB. I'm like, all right, buddy, whatever. But like,
and then you came over and you were like, oh shit.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it wasn't even when I came over. I liked what I saw, but it had been like 15 years since I played Genesis back at home, so I didn't really have much to compare it to.
You went back and played it.
No, kind of. Like, the thing was, like, I thought it would be like the PS2 with component versus RGB, where, like, you could barely tell a difference. Like, maybe I see a little something in one of these, but, like, if you if you pause the game, I put in Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or 2 or whatever, and I just paused the game, and I hooked up my composite wires, and I looked closely at what I was seeing, and then I put in RGB, and with RGB, it clearly makes more of a distinction of the pixels.
Oh,
sure. The composite, everything, like, I mean, if you grew up in America, you would never know this because we don't have SCART over here. But, like, if you compare it to RGB, composite is just much fuzzier. Not blurrier, fuzzier. Like, the RGB is clearer. I mean, like, you can argue you don't like the chunky look of, like, individual pixels, but, like, it's still way sharper. Like, with RGB on the Super Nintendo, I'm like, well, I may as well get RGB because they say it's better. But with the Genesis, like, it is plainly clear that RGB is better than composite. So
it's beautiful. But yeah, this is the ultimate video solution for Dreamcast. The DC HDMI is incompatible with one revision of one single game, and it's because it was programmed like a piece of shit. So it goes from being 480p to like 479p, like depending on the screen. Yeah, it's a version of Hydro Thunder that had a bug taken out of it, so they made a new revision of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's programmed by an idiot. So like,
it's not even the cable's fault; it's the game's fault.
No, it's the game's fault. It switches from like 480p to 479p, which isn't a thing, like constantly. So like,
what does
it's
that mean?
incompatible
You see like
with
a little
that.
rainbow pixel at the bottom of the screen every once in a while, like with VHS tapes?
No, it just doesn't exist. So it tries to stretch 749 pixels to 780, and it doesn't.
So the picture looks like it's kind of expanding and contracting, but really subtly.
Yeah, exactly. But
so you see it and you're like, is something wrong with my eyes?
No, like on an analog format like a CRT, you wouldn't be able to notice it, and the TV works with half numbers and things like that. So it's not digital, so it can display these things. But when you throw it into an HDMI signal, which is rigid, the monitors only understand ones and zeros. It doesn't understand anything that isn't ones and zeros. So like, it turns it into a format that shouldn't exist. So it ignores it and it won't display.
Oh,
so,
okay.
But this isn't a big deal. It's Hydro Thunder. It's not that great, first of all, number one. Number two, you can actually get this same version on GameCube or PS2 or Xbox with the Midway Arcade Treasures 3. It's the Dreamcast version of those.
Yeah, that's
those
a weird
games.
thing. It's a bunch of arcade classics, except that's a console classic, but okay. Yeah. But I mean, it's a good thing it exists, apparently, because it's the better version that this like HDMI thing won't support on the Dreamcast if you really care about that one particular game.
So, and like, come on, you're not going back to play Hydro Thunder on your Dreamcast. Come on, stop it.
Yeah, you when you go back and play Hydro Thunder, it's because you're like at the movie theater early.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand going back to play Bangai-O because it's like one of the best games ever made. Like Shenmue. Okay, you want to play it in its original format rather than the new one.
Well, there actually is something to that because the new one does have some bugs that need to be fixed. So
it's already been done. That's good. It's in good shape now.
Have they all been? Okay, because when I was streaming them, there were definitely. They weren't game breaking, but there were some issues that shouldn't
fixed.
have happened.
Yeah, they were fixed.
Right.
But anyway, what I'm getting at here is nobody's going back to the Dreamcast for that game. And if you are, oh well, like you can play the old version of it on there.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who still has their Dreamcast for Hydro Thunder, then you can play it on like what Vice said, GameCube or Xbox.
Or your Toro box or whatever.
Yeah, a GameCube is like $50. Just like,
come on,
pick it up in Midway Classic. Yeah.
So, but here's the big. So the pre-order system went up for that, so you don't actually have to like get into a system like at a specific time before it all sells out. Like you get into a legitimate pre-order system. That's up right now. The second pre-order I think is going to go live early in January, which is good. But what is really cool is today on Twitter. This is on the 23rd is when we're recording this.
Yeah.
Dan Kuntz announces that he's working on the same thing but for PS2, which is even bigger.
Yeah, that makes me
because
really happy. The PS2 was way more mainstream than the Dreamcast. Like the Dreamcast was a mainstream system, but the PS2 just steamrolled everything. But not only that, but regarding what I was saying about the pound cable earlier, this is something that I mentioned in the podcast where we brought up the pound cable. It's really great for PS1, although I have had some people tell me that it kind of fudges 240 into 480 and it's not like true 480, so you might still be better with SCART for PS1. But for PS2, it only goes up to 480i because the 40p games are weird. You have to like hold a button to when you start the game to make them do 480p. So the HDMI cable isn't ready for that. So like the HDMI cable from Pound is nice for the PS2 if you just want to hook it up to an HDTV without trouble. But again, the upscaling option, and if it works with the 480p stuff, like obviously that'll be the better solution.
So not only that, but basically the best solution for PS1 and PS2 right now, I'm just gonna come out right and say it, is a backwards compatible PS3, and those are very limited now. A lot of them have broken by this point because they were poorly made. I have one, so I'm set until mine breaks. But
the only exception is foreign PS1 and PS2 games because the PS3 is not doing that.
Correct. So this will be really great for people that want to have a more reliable PS3, a more modern one. And don't want to have to contend with the downloadable versions of these games. Have actual real hardware playing these games for PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, and you can have a modded PlayStation 2 running with this PS2 HDMI project.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you want to play every PS1 and every PS2 game ever, then
it's gonna be awesome.
Then yeah, the PS2 is really the way to do it because the PS3, like I said, can't do foreign stuff. Oh, I mean, can't. Like it won't.
Yeah.
It's not that it can't, but the PS2, it's by this point, it's relatively easy to make a foreign mod happen. Like I've had a foreign capable PS2 with swap discs for like 10 years. There were only a couple of games I couldn't play on it, but something from Vice has made that different as well. I just need to install that chip. That'd be freaking amazing. But like with something like that, with the HDMI out, you're golden. Especially because Vice, I don't know if you've had this experience, but you know how everyone said like even Sony can't emulate PS2, which is why most PS3s like don't have PS2 stuff. Like there's only select titles on the network and stuff like that.
They can emulate it on the PS4. There are PS2 games on PS4.
Yeah, there certainly are PS2 on PS4. But it looks like it's select games. But like, yeah, that was the thing. The PS3 did not emulate PS2 games. It basically had a PS2 built inside of it.
Yeah.
So that's why when the PS4 came out and everyone was mad that they couldn't do PS2 and the PS3 could, it's like no, even the PS3 couldn't. That's why the newer ones didn't, and the PS4 is made completely differently. They're not doing two systems in one anymore. So like it's not so much that the PS4 is a step down, so much as like the illusion has been revealed. Like they were never capable of doing it.
So this is really great news. Like sooner or later, there will be an HDMI solution that will be very accurate for pretty much any system that you want, and you won't have to mess with upscalers anymore. This is a world that I really want. So
and the funny thing is, like, they don't have that for the Genesis or the Super Nintendo, but that's okay. You have
they do and they don't.
The Super NT like is itself the solution.
Yeah, so I'm okay with FPGA consoles as long as they're programmed well, and the ones that we have gotten so far have been phenomenal. So, as long I don't care about original hardware. What I care about is accuracy.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you care about like good hardware.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm quite okay with having an NT Mini, the Super NT, and the Mega NT, which are all going to be HDMI consoles that are FPGA based, that are going to be hardware emulated rather than software emulated. So those are all great solutions, and sooner or later I won't need an OSSC or a FrameMeister, and that is a world that I want to be in because they're pain in the ass and they're expensive. No, that's just what it is. I mean, I had to mod my Super Nintendo to get because I had a Super Nintendo Mini to work on a FrameMeister. That's stupid. I shouldn't need to do that. I have a Genesis, that I need to upscale. I have the big one will be
I
like
have the same
TurboGrafx.
Genesis setup, by the way, that Vice does, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like Vice
it's
told
fun,
me,
but it's
like
stupid.
if Vice hadn't told me the stuff I would need to purchase to make the RGB thing happen, there's no way I would have figured it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to do extensive research on this stuff.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that will be left out at this point will be the TurboGrafx. It doesn't have a good digital solution that will allow you to play like the CD games at the same time, that kind of thing. So hopefully, somebody comes out with like an SSDS3 that has digital output. Which would be really, really cool.
What's SS? What did you say was SSDS?
Yeah, this is that thing that I told you that it does RGB out for like the PC Engine.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
And
okay.
also allows you to play CD images and ROMs off of it. It's a really great product that also needs to be fixed a little bit, but it does only output in analog format. So
right.
it's still not HDMI. It's still not where it needs to be. So anyway, really cool time for this. I hope also GameCube gets a good solution like this as well, and I hope the Wii the Wii stuff that's been coming out gets upgraded to have upscaling as well.
Yeah, like the GameCube. Yeah, the GameCube would be nice mainly for the Game Boy stuff. But if the Wii gets a proper HDMI upscaling option, then that can cover the GameCube games as well.
Well, they have a really good internal HDMI mod right now. It just doesn't upscale. So,
okay.
So I'm waiting for the upscaling
it's a step.
version.
Yeah.
So
anyway, couple two little things. Ketsui Deathtiny. That was not me with a lisp. It's actually called Deathtiny, not
Destiny, Deathtiny.
Yeah, it's a Japanese English pun. But this is the latest release by M2 and their Shot Triggers release that just recently came out in Japan, and apparently is the best version of Ketsui ever released. It is a cave shmup. If you're really into shmups, you really should get it. It includes a version of the game that was only available to play for one day, which is really awesome. So, Cave had like some kind of festival where they showed up, with a bunch of merchandise, but they allowed people to play their game. And apparently they only made like 2 boards of this game. Of this version of the game. It's a special edition with like revised rules of Ketsui, and so therefore the only people that owned it was basically the people in the company, and people only got to play it one day. They knew it existed, but it had never been published elsewhere.
That's interesting.
So this version includes that, and all other versions of Ketsui. Cave is very well known for making revisions of their games, remixes of their own games. Which version you like best is up to you. Usually the most current one is the most challenging, so a lot of the hardcore guys will say, the most recent one's the one to play. But if you ask me, the rules are so different that your enjoyment of the game could be completely different from version to version, even if you're playing.
That's pretty interesting.
What's that? Yeah, it's kind of like, let's say if you were to play Galaga. You're familiar with Galaga, right? Fakafon?
Yeah, it's a space shooter, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So imagine if you just play regular Galaga, which means you just do your thing, you shoot all the bad guys. But then they came out with a revision where you have to kill all of the enemies with yellow on them first, and then all the ones with the red, and then all the ones with blue. But it's the same game, but you have to do that.
It's kind of like a challenge mode then.
Exactly. So it completely makes you think in a completely different way, and you might like the original better because you could just shoot whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is it's pretty cool that they released this, and people are even saying that M2's releases recently, they've been making the Sega Ages games, the ones that I've been talking about recently, like with Phantasy Star on the Switch, as well as this Ketsui Deathtiny and a few other releases. They are saying that their emulation releases are officially better than original hardware because of all the extra features they add and because of their accuracy.
Nice.
So there is no good reason to play original hardware over their versions of the game, which is awesome. And then I just really quickly wanted to mention recent arcade archives releases by Hamster on a few systems. I just wanted to mention that they're putting out Puzzle Bobble 1 and 2 or Bust a Move 1 and 2 on Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, and I think eventually Windows 10. These games are some of the last games that have not been released in the Neo Geo archives. And are still really worth it. They're some of the best games of the Neo Geo, the puzzle games that are really fun. What's cool about this is that Bust a Move and Puzzle Bobble is the Japanese name. Inspired a lot of other really wildly popular games like Zuma. And Bloons was another really popular version of this idea. So you're shooting a colored bubble up to meet another batch of colored bubbles in order to pop them and clear them. And you do that by aiming them and bouncing them off the wall. So very popular game style now, but it was originally came out with this and used Bubble Bobble characters for the aesthetics. A lot of fun, really great music. Double Dragon 2 came out a little while ago. I wanted to mention that just because I love Double Dragon. And yesterday, or a couple days ago, they came out with the first ever arcade conversion of Donkey Kong Jr. on Switch.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, I think you did mention last time that like that game was unfindable anywhere.
Yeah, there's never been a straight arcade version of Donkey Kong Jr. ever released. I think even the Nintendo version even has a level taken out of it, just like the original Donkey Kong does.
Yeah, I think that's what you said last time.
So, and not only that, but the graphics are different because it's vertical rather than or horizontal rather than vertical. So,
yeah.
This is really great. I mean, my favorite Donkey Kong game is Donkey Kong 3. I'm hoping that they release that. I don't see why they wouldn't at this point because they're even putting out the arcade version of fucking Urban Champion. So, I mean, why wouldn't they put out like Donkey Kong 3 for sure is more popular than that. So, I like come on. Throw me a bone here. So, I think it's just a matter of time. And it's just really great. And I think we have one last thing to talk about.
Yeah, there's only
right?
one more thing I wanted to mention. I was reminded when you mentioned that Ketsui Deathtiny had a one-day only version that they're releasing.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of articles talking about this, but the original Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like, the thing with Sonic Adventure is the best way to play it is on the GameCube, the Director's Cut, or I guess on Steam at this point, but
Yeah.
like the Director's Cut where it has all the extra features. But the thing is, the Dreamcast version had DLC, believe it or not. I was unaware of this until like a couple of days ago. And it was like a Christmas theme for the general setting. You can get it if you have a way of downloading a program and transferring it to a VMU. Like, there are ways to do this. It's just a bit of a nuisance. The only thing about this DLC, though, is that I forgot what the item was, but it gives you some sort of item that spawns in the same place as the key that lets you into, I think, Twinkle Park. So if you pick up that item before you have access to Twinkle Park, then I think it just breaks your game. You just can't enter Twinkle Park and advance the game.
Great.
So like if you do Twinkle Park first and then activate the DLC, then that's cool. Like, here's the thing I'll bet you didn't know about. So it's just kind of cool that it exists. So I guess if you could find a way to download the DLC and transfer it to your VMU, then you can take a weird look. It's kind of like Skies of Arcadia. Like, I played Skies of Arcadia Legends on the GameCube, and what I didn't realize is that it had a bunch of stuff that was supposed to be DLC on the Dreamcast version. Like, some of the there was like a unique boss fight and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, by the way, did you know this was DLC on the Dreamcast? I'm like, oh, I forgot that DLC existed for the Dreamcast.
So they actually did that with Jet Grind Radio, the original Jet Grind Radio, also had DLC as well.
Wow.
There were extra tags that you could download.
And Dynamite Cop also had some DLC. I forgot in what capacity, but like, who would have guessed that a game like that would have DLC?
Yeah,
it's such an arcade game.
So
are they restoring this? Are they restoring this DLC to?
I'm not sure if they're restoring it. I think I just remember that the article said that it existed. Like, whoa, get a load of this. So like, I don't know if they're restoring it or not. If they are, that'd be great. But otherwise, I think it's just like, just look for the DLC and install it if you can.
Because I know that for some of the recent Dreamcast ports to PCs, like Crazy Taxi had a really great mod that allowed you to put the original music back into it. I wonder if somebody working on a mod that will just add this stuff and give you the
once
full
again,
package.
If they're going to add it back, then they better change the location of whatever that DLC item was, because it breaks your game.
Wow.
It's kind of like how in Final Doom, one of the levels was unbeatable because the yellow key card just wasn't in the level. Like, you need to get some sort of mod or patch to put it in.
People have been searching like for like hidden passages forever in that level.
Yeah, I did this in college.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't find out how to beat the level, and it turns out it was literally unbeatable because of an error.
Whoops.
Whoops. Yeah.
All right, so this was a longer episode, but there's definitely some cool stuff to talk about.
It's your Christmas bonus.
And you were worried this was gonna be shorter too.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the way it goes. Our capacity for talking days on end about asinine bullshit never surprises me.
Also, a free extra 10 minutes of Die Hard.
Yeah.
So, I forgot who I was with. Me and Lotus I can pretty much talk about anything for a really long time. In fact, I purposefully call him up like on the phone if I have a long car ride, because I know he'll still be talking by the time.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, back when you used to work like an hour away, like you would call me like once like every couple of days. Like, I'm just on my way home from work. It's like, just chatting it up.
Yeah. I mean,
that's always fun.
Why not talk to one of your best friends? I mean, really. So anyway,
eyes on the road, buddy.
Sorry, I was staring at your
at my name on your Bluetooth. Yeah. Whoa, mesmerized. Whoa.
Your aura, Lotus.
We certainly drove a lot today.
My God.
We certainly drove into a lot of ditches today.
Yeah.
We're about to hit a chestnut tree.
I love that.
So anyway, anything else for the good of the order?
I got nothing. I didn't have anything to say for the whole episode anyway, but I got nothing more.
Well, color commentary, Fakafon. That's why you're here.
Yes, that's true.
Color commentary.
I'm here to be the third wheel.
Well, you need a third wheel, because if you only have two, then you just have a Segway, and that's weird. I'd rather have
or a bicycle. You risk falling over if you don't put down your kickstand when you're stopped.
That's why I'm here.
You're our kickstand.
Aw. What? I feel blessed.
Anyway, so that is our show for this week. Bye. No.
Yeah, I was like, well, Merry Christmas,
everybody. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness and YouTube and SoundCloud pages. I know you have nothing better to do on this Tuesday, so
yeah.
Please
nothing's
go ahead
happening.
And do that. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You could also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, where Fakafon will probably talk a little bit more.
Hello.
The podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net. Oh, and by the way, if you friended me within the last year on PSN, I finally accepted your friend requests because I actually checked them. I know I say this every episode, but I wasn't ignoring you. I barely go and check my messages on PSN. So I think Insane Buffoon was on there, and I accepted that one. So thank you for sending that about a year ago.
Yeah, shout out to Insane Buffoon.
So go ahead and plug away.
All right. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, Zone of the Enders 2 concludes today, by the way, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Which reminds me, I do need to catch up on Zone of the Enders. I got a few episodes to see. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Lou Fakafon. That's L-O-U-P Fakafon. You can find me on YouTube under Fakafon. And you can look at my comic, my webcomic on Kajula.com. And now I'm also on Webtoons. If you search for Kajula-chan, you'll find me on Webtoons.
Hey.
Yeah, he's very, very talented. I definitely recommend taking a look at his webcomic. It's very funny.
Thank
I
you.
like it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one I still follow, by the way.
Oh, cool.
So I don't follow any of my old favorites anymore. Just you. So that should say something. So anyway, we will adjourn. We will catch you on
All
Thursday,
right.
and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, and have a Happy New Year. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Snakes. I don't know no snakes.
Best movie ever. I don't know
I
snakes.
really want to watch that movie.
I
I want to
know.
watch that movie.
You were
not
smooching
Home Alone.
everybody.
Little Joe with the gimpy leg?
Cliff, it's a lie.
All right. We'll catch you on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
Good night, everyone.